Hello, everybody. Tom Leyden with you. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Westwood Living Podcast. This is a group conversation. I am with Lauren Watson, who you are familiar with, but also Sarah Lovely, great name, and Kate Peltz. And the three of you, as a trio, are starting a new conglomeration. And I should set the stage first before we get into our conversation. We are at the Muffin House, and what I love about doing conversations at the Muffin House is we're kind of like the wallpaper. Everyone's talking. So, we're having a conversation too, but it's just being recorded. So, hi, Lauren. How are you?
Hi, Tom. I'm great, thanks.
I'm excited to hear about this, and we have a specific event coming up on the 24th. Sarah, how you doing? Welcome.
Hi, good. Thank you so much, Tom.
My pleasure to meet you. And Kate, you had the longest trip. You came from Concord. How was the commute?
Easy peasy, no trouble.
Good. I'm sorry we couldn't cooperate in terms of weather, but tell me about what you're doing. Who wants to take the lead first in terms of how this conglomeration was formed and what the goal is? Kate, you're being pointed to. Enjoy.
Okay. So Lauren and I have actually known one another since 7th grade. We took a cooking class together, and Sarah and I have known one another for 20 years or so. All three of us worked together at Boston Independent Schools and came to know and respect one another's work and developed both a professional relationship and a friendship. And when we each were contemplating making the move from high school setting to private practice, we reached out to one another to sort of talk about what that might look like. And all along, we knew that we wanted to establish separate LLCs, but that it was going to be important to us to be in community. So we actually had plans to meet on St. Patty's Day in 2020, but you might remember that a pandemic arrived right around that time.
Yeah.
And
thanks for reminding me.
So we weren't able to gather as originally planned at a restaurant, but made plans to connect outside, 6 feet apart, at a distance in Lauren's backyard. And so that's where Backyard College Counseling got its name.
Fantastic. So let's not bury the lead because, people want to hear exactly why we're here. And the most important reason we're here is to promote the fact that next Monday, the 24th, which is a week from when we're recording this on St. Patrick's Day, there's a special virtual event, which you're titling Making the Most of High School. It's really advice for parents of 9th and 10th graders. And Sarah, why don't you run with that a little bit and tell us what the mission is and how this came about and what you're looking to achieve.
Yeah, sure. So in our conversation in Lauren's backyard, I guess almost 5 years ago, we really decided that we wanted to collaborate in ways that were separate from what our independent practices could offer, which our independent work is really working one-on-one with students and their parents. And we wanted to reach a broader audience. We feel like the college process is one that should be incredibly exciting for families, should not be what the media says that it is. It should actually be incredibly affirming for kids. And so we got together and we said, why don't we do events? And what started out as just what we've done to this point are in-person events in people's backyards. Mm-hmm. And we decided that we wanted to make it bigger than that. And we each work with families all over the country, even internationally. And we just felt as though, why would we not do this and try to kind of spread our message to families everywhere?
Love it. And Lauren, that's something you have said to me about how you do have clients coast to coast, if not internationally at this stage. But the other thing that we've talked about is the need and the importance of younger parents. Well, it doesn't matter how old the parents are. I guess parents of those who are in 9th and 10th grade to get on the right track. So that's what this online session is focusing on. 9th and 10th grade parents. So as an overview, your elevator pitch, what do you tell a 9th and 10th grade parent to get them intrigued by what you have to offer next Monday?
Our most important message as Backyard College Counseling is to communicate to parents and families that the college admission process does not need to be something that you brace for. And in fact, it can be something that you look forward to, and that it is a beautiful opportunity to get to know your child, to help them understand the world beyond their own experience so far, and to coach parents on how to keep that perspective at the center of the process when our communities that are so remarkable, and we're so fortunate to be in these places where there's an assumption that most kids are going to go to college and that this is a process that everyone is headed toward. we're trying to help people understand that while that noise can get loud and the stress of it can be difficult, there are ways to move through the process if you pay attention early and start really centering your family in a particular way when your student is in 9th and 10th grade, that you can move through it in a way that will leave your child feeling empowered and joyful.
All right, Kate, let's go back to you, because as I look at your sheet here promoting next Monday's event specifically, you say expert guidance about academic planning, extracurricular involvement, myth-busting the college admission landscape, which Lauren just basically touched on a bit, but also celebrating your teen's unique strengths, which also plays into the positivity that this could bring to any family. But just walk me through some of the guidance that you hope to pass on to people who participate in this seminar next Monday.
Yeah, I'm actually going to pick up on your last point and sort of piggyback on what Lauren said, that I think the other reason that we want to communicate with families is because we hear so often that students feel inadequate in the process and that parents are tempted to compare their child to other people's kids. And we really want to be urging parents to focus on who they have in front of them and to also imagine who their child can become. And so we're starting with 9th and 10th graders or parents of 9th and 10th graders, because we often hear from parents that they worry that they're going to be behind or that they're going to miss an opportunity. And really, we feel that a lot of what makes a successful college applicant is a successful high school student. And so when kids are happy and engaged in their current communities, and they're taking advantage of the opportunities that they have right in front of them, they're practicing relationships with adults and just communicating about who they are and what they care about. All of those steps are the same steps that will be successful in the admissions process. So we're not going to give too much away today about exactly what we're going to cover because we want folks to come, but I think the philosophy is about celebrating where your child is, as Lauren said, celebrating that your child can go to college. You know, if you're lucky enough to have access to higher education, this is something to celebrate. And so we will give concrete steps on Monday about choosing thoughtful curriculum based on who your child is and what your child's academic interests are, thinking about whole person involvement. So as you're thinking about your academic choices, to be mindful of all of the ways in which a student engages with their community extracurricularly as well. And then also just some tips from our 70 plus years of experience about where to start the process, because oftentimes I think that's a question that we hear. You know, I don't know where to begin. And so we'll be talking about that with our families.
All right, you have me laughing right now because Kate's the one who said, what if I don't sound good? What if it... Brilliant.
I know.
You need
She's
zero
brilliant.
editing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Unbelievable. But for those of you who are watching this, you can see the URL, the website that you want to go to on our slate. It is backyardcollegecounseling.com. That's where you're going to register for Monday's event, which runs from 12 to 1 o'clock. A nice little lunchtime learning session. But it is backyardcollegecounseling.com for those of you who are just listening. So go check that out and register yourself. Now, Sarah, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Do you know what the first question is that Lauren asks of her high school students when she first meets them?
Ooh.
I just want to see
I'm
if yours
trying
might
to
be the
think
same.
of
What's yours?
something clever. Well, I usually ask my students, what do you like to do outside of school? Tell me something that you do just for fun or that you find joy in.
All right, the
What do
correct
you
answer.
ask?
This is like
Okay.
match game.
Okay.
Lauren, what is the question you ask?
Do you want to go to college?
Oh, okay.
Right? Just
you
like a
win.
broad perspective of, hey, where does the kid feel they may
Yeah.
want to be after their high school experience? And I also love, having learned a lot from Lauren, the language of that, the experience after high school. It's not always like, where are you going to go to college, right? Because maybe not everybody's going to go to college. So what have you learned in these last 5-10 years about how the college or post-high school landscape has changed?
You know, it's interesting because it certainly has shifted, no doubt. Applications are up, acceptance rates at some schools have gone down, but largely the work that we do with our family, or at least that I do with my families, has not really changed all that much. It's still really about helping a student to present their authentic self to a college. It's not about finding a silver bullet. It's not about all the things on your resume. It's not about taking every AP class at your high school. It's really about feeling good and feeling at the end of the day like I submitted my strongest possible application. So there certainly have been shifts, and we're living in a time that is constantly evolving, but I think that the work that I do with families hasn't changed dramatically in the 20-something years that I've been doing it.
Let me go around the table. Lauren, you can start. What's the best feedback you can get from a family, both parents and the child that you're working with, after the process is complete, or maybe even during the process? What makes you feel the best?
I love this question. I know the answer immediately. I am so grateful when a student or a parent tells me that I was a really steady companion to a kid through a time that is can feel very unsteady. I had a student tell me that years ago. She wrote me a thank you note and said, I couldn't have imagined a better companion. And I think about it all the time. That's all I'm trying to do, is to just walk next to a kid while they go through this in a way that makes them feel a little bit more steady.
Kate, do you want to chime in? Tough to follow up if it's different?
Yeah. I guess it's sort of a similar theme. I want kids to feel seen and heard, primarily. And when they don't believe in themselves, I want to believe in them enough for both of us and sort of remind students of what I've heard their values to be and give them permission to make decisions in keeping with those values. You know, I like when a student at the end will say, I played the cards to the best of my ability and I played them authentically. You know, I didn't try to be anybody else in this process but myself, and I've learned so much about myself. That's really the goal, that the college process becomes an opportunity for growth for kids that they recognize within themselves.
Okay, Sarah, back-to-back home runs. This is your chance to go back-to-back-to-back.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, yes to both of those things. I was having lunch the other day on Saturday with two of my former students who are brothers, and they said, you made me feel good about myself in this process. And that, to me, was a really nice compliment. And just to reinforce what Kate said, I mean, I never want a kid to feel like they cannot be who they are in the college process. And I think that there's a lot out there that says, if you only do this, then you'll get, if when, and it's not like that. Kids can really be who they are.
So we have time for one concluding statement. And Lauren, would you like to make that concluding statement, considering this is your home turf? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
Ultimately, at the end of the day here, what's the goal, and what is your final thoughts that you want to leave with people as they consider maybe joining you next Monday?
The goal for us is to help as many parents as possible understand that this process of designing your student's life after high school is an opportunity for your relationship with your child to grow stronger and deeper, and doesn't need to be something that causes a fracture in your family, and doesn't need to be the source of extreme stress. It can be the source of joy. And we acknowledge that while we each have our own successful practices, that access to an individual one-on-one college counseling practice is inaccessible for some folks. And in the spirit of wanting to spread our message and help as many people as possible, we've designed this virtual event on Monday to be at a really reasonable price point and to be structured in a manner that is logistically accessible to people. We've got folks registered already from 6 different states, and we're excited about reaching folks all over the country, and we're hopeful that people will join us so that they can have a better understanding of where to start with their child, and that they can launch the conversation at home with a sense of calm and confidence.
Love it. Fantastic. I enjoyed meeting all three of you. You want to go to backyardcollegecounseling.com for all the information. This first of what I assume will be a number of seminars that you do together is scheduled for March 24th, 12 to 1 o'clock. You got to register, but just go to that website to learn all the details. Thank you all. Pleasure to meet the two of you across the table.
Thank you for having us.
That's Sarah Lovely, Kate Peltz, Lauren Watson, collectively Backyard College Counseling. And I appreciate the work that you do. And as always, folks, if there's somebody else you want me to have a conversation with, just send me an email to tleiden@bestversionmedia.com. I'll find that person, have a conversation, and share it with you right here on the Westwood Living Podcast Network. But for now, from the Muffin House with Kate, Lauren, and Sarah, I'm Tom Leyden saying so long, and thanks for listening.